Welcome to the Clock Hour. I am your host, Marv Kennel. I'm back again, back again, back again. I have a very, very special guest in the building with me today. And I call all my guests special, but this one is really special. I've been trying to get her here for a minute. Miss Tanya Smith.
Hello, y'all. Thank you for having me here today, Marv. It's been challenging,
Yes,
with
it
things
has.
happening, But I want to just start out by saying thank you for your support with
Right.
us since we started, at the grand opening. You've been here.
Right.
So, yes, it's only right that I come and,
Right.
bless your presence with what we're doing here in your channel.
I
you know?
appreciate you.
Yeah.
You know, as long as I've been into corrections and experience with corrections and stuff like that, to actually see people doing what they said they were going to do, that gets my support. Everybody, I do it. I talk a lot anyway, but anytime I hear someone and then you don't see anything, any results, I get kind of frustrated. But so once I caught wind of your organization and what y'all were doing, I was like, oh, okay, I need to know more. So can you tell the people what the name of the organization is and what it is that y'all do?
Okay, so we're the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls. And
Okay.
our goal is to end incarceration for women and girls. And we intend to do that with policy and litigation, the
Okay.
Free Her campaign, and reimagining community. Okay?
The Free Her campaign.
Yes.
What is that?
So the Free Her campaign is we are looking. So we're not a program. We're an
Okay.
issue advocacy campaign, right? We look
Okay.
for those issues in our community which bring us to imprisonment, right?
All right.
So, like for example, we have the primary caretakers bill that we're looking to put into bill, right?
Okay.
And that is that where when you have those who have been in convicted or getting ready to have a sentence, they're staying home with their families instead of going to prison, right? Because we know
Right.
that when women or men go to prison, it's a disservice to the family, it's a disservice to the dependent child that they're leaving behind. So we intend to block that
Okay.
by having those individuals stay home and to continue to be productive in the community and in the lives of their children or elderly or dependent or, excuse me,
Right.
individuals with disabilities.
No, I get it. I've seen a lot, dealt with a lot, and when you're in that environment, you see who they're calling home to. They may be calling home to grandma. Grandma got the kids. The kids are left with the grandma or mother-in-law, father-in-law, daughter-in-law. And you're looking at it and you're like, okay. So that's a burden. It becomes
Right.
a burden on someone.
Right, and it's traumatic to the child.
Right.
It's traumatic to the mother because that separation it caused harm to the
Right.
community. So 9 times out of 10 or more often, those children turn out to do the same thing that their parents or in that environment are doing, which lead them to incarceration.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
know,
And-
so we want to keep our children safe by keeping the mom and those that caretake for the dependent child in the home.
I get it. I get it. So it's not just about the mom.
No, well, we're talking about primary caretaker.
Right.
If you are the father,
Right.
but more often, 85% of women who go to prison, they
Right.
are parents. They are the parent, and solely most of the time, single parents.
Right.
So when you take that mother out of the home and out of community, it begins to break down the community, because now you have a child who is out there left to fend for themselves, really, because once you go into the system, you have to learn how to stand on your own and
Yeah.
and fight for for who you are and what what you want to be.
Right.
But it's hard because 9 times out of 10, the system is going to win.
Right.
So guess what? That pipeline from the system from child care. What is this? Not child care.
School
It's
to school to prison pipeline
school to
and
prison
all that other stuff.
pipeline,
Yeah.
right? And you have the foster care
Right.
system. You know,
Yeah.
that's a prison to pipeline system. You know,
Right.
that's a pipeline to prison system.
Right.
You know, so all these systems will lead our marginalized children into continued poverty and into prison. You know, so we're here to say no. We're not allowing that to continue to happen.
Right. So when we say that, is it because there's a breakdown in between there, the school system, or let's say with the foster care, that's DCF, DSD. They call it different names in
And
different states and cities and stuff. So do you think there's something is missing in between there that's leading them up to that or to prison? Something's got to be missing. There's something not in between there. You know what I mean?
So when we talk about something something
Yeah.
that's missing in between, so
Right.
okay. So first of all, we know that we live in a system where it's unfair to us as people of color.
Right.
Okay. So when the system begins to take accountability for the damage that it has done to a group of people, right, a diaspora of people, then we could begin to look at what's missing, right?
Right.
So what's missing is you taking a mother out of a home, right? You're taking, so we know about mass incarceration and how
Right.
that's happened. So we now have a family that's disproportionate, and you know we have a family that is you know not striving the way that they should, right? Because we know a two-parent house is always going to be more productive, right?
Okay.
So when
Right.
you remove a mother
Right.
from out of a home, the nurturer, right, the one who brought forth this child, right?
Right.
The disconnection, the abandonment that a child is going to feel.
Right. I mean, I was a single parent, so I did it. It was, you know, my mom's helped, but, you know, I was a single parent, but I didn't play no games. I was, you know.
Right, but you
he'll
were
t-
in the
Yeah,
household,
he'll tell
you know.
now. I'm like, look, I was Mr. Mom.
Right.
I had to do what I had to do.
Right, I was a single parent as well, but I
Right.
also was a parent who experienced incarceration.
Right.
And I saw what that did to my daughters when we were going through
Right.
the system of just understanding, you know, feeling vulnerable in that moment, you
Right.
know, of going back and forth to court and knowing that your future, you know, your life hangs in the balance of someone else. You know
Right.
what I mean? Being removed from a family is detrimental to the
Right.
family, you know, and to the community.
structure of
You
family.
understand, right?
Right.
You know, and the community, because there were community members, you know, who see me as their second mother, you know, because I wasn't a person that at that
Right.
time
No, I get it.
who, you know, who wasn't a force in the community. You
Right.
know, I had over 21 painless births out there, and they all were impacted by, you know, what I've gone through and what my family have gone through, you know, and amazingly, they were there to support my children, and they supported one another.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about in reimagining community, bringing families together, bringing that village back, you know, so
Right.
that we can have an eye on what's going on and not being afraid of our children, you know, those young people who are
Gotcha.
coming up, and bringing that connection back together, right? And then
Okay.
understanding the power that we have as a people to allow our communities begin to rise up and to be productive, right? So,
Okay.
you know, yeah, so
You
the
know,
mission is big, you know, it's
Right.
huge, and it's a lot to
it's
say
bigger
about
than
it.
just here.
Right, it
Okay.
is. It is.
I get it.
You know,
You know what? Coming from that environment, you know what really hurt me, and it bothered me. I can say when I had to take a mother from the hospital and she had to leave her child. That scarred me in that system.
so if it scarred you,
Yeah.
could you imagine what it
Right.
was doing to that mother?
Right.
Physically,
Right.
emotionally, psychologically, everything that she was experiencing, you got to see it
Right.
firsthand.
And I wrote about that.
And it sounds like it's
putting a
still
book.
bothering
Yeah,
you.
it still bothers me because you don't know the feeling of it. You know, you think you put on that uniform, that's going to protect your heart. That doesn't protect your heart. That's a costume. So if you have a heart And you have to do that. You rolling this young lady out. She's crying her heart out. And you rolling her out in a wheelchair. There's no count. You can't console them. There's nothing you could do but follow orders and follow the rules and take her back to the prison. That bothered me.
Right.
I asked about that child 5 days a week when I seen her. I had to see pictures and everything because out of 20 years, that still sticks with me.
But then that's trauma. That's
Right,
lingering
right,
for you. It's
right,
vicarious trauma. You saw the
right,
trauma that was happening to someone else. You
right,
experienced it with that individual.
right,
That becomes vicarious trauma to those who were
right,
right there in the midst of it. You
right.
know.
And I tell people, I'm like, you want to know what scarred me? That scarred me. Even one time I took a young lady to have a baby. I'm like, I'm going to step outside this room. You handle that.
Oh, so you were allowed to stay in the room if you didn't decide yourself to step out?
No,
Oh,
not for the actual
delivery?
birth.
Okay.
Yeah, but when she was going through her contractions and everything, I was like, let me
So,
get
but
out
let
of
me
here.
ask you, was she handcuffed to the bed when she was having the baby?
At that time, I really don't remember. I know there was a fight for that. They
To
used
end
to,
that,
yeah,
right?
they used to
Right,
cuff
there's
'em.
a bill out there
Yeah,
that's stating that they shouldn't, but we
right.
don't have a follow-up on to even know if they have committed
They
to
don't.
that.
They take them loose. I
Okay.
know because I'm not sure at that time because this was the early 2000s. I started there in 2000, so they hadn't really put that in effect yet. I'm not sure, but I know that she was going through it. I said, "Oh, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to step outside in the hallway." I was by the door, but because you go with a female staff and it's two of y'all, but you carried a weapon, and that female staff stays with it. And I used to go with cool people, and I wasn't messing with too many people that I wasn't cool with. I wasn't going on no trips like that, but them trips are a little rough. They're a little rough.
Well, prison is rough, and this is why we want to end incarceration for our women and girls, because it's not a place, we don't believe that is a safe place or a place for women to heal, you know. Why can't there be alternative to incarceration, especially because we have to think about what is in our environment and how those things got into our environment and look at the whole biopsychosocial of an individual before you begin to place them into a cage. You understand? Because we're human, we're not animals, okay? And we know that prison it's not, they say rehabilitation, but it is not rehabilitation. You understand? Because you have young women who will go into prison and come out and do the same thing.
Yeah.
So if they have been there, how did it help them? So, they're trying to build. So here we are in this Free Her campaign, right?
Right.
And it's in the New England area. We're here to bring that awareness of why it's important that our women not be caged, why it's important to end incarceration for women and girls, why it's important to take the $50 million that they seek to build to expand prisons in certain areas in the New England area, Boston and Vermont. And we have under 3,000 women incarcerated in the entire New England area.
Right.
So why take 50 million or more to build prisons, right? When you can
Right.
take that money and put it into communities where women can begin to thrive, families can begin to thrive. And that is what it's about. It's not about cage. So we don't get to, we're not, benefiting from going to prison. It's the big corporations that are benefiting from building prisons and
Yeah.
having us there to be their modern day slaves, right? Because you work for nothing in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it is big business. But one thing I want to say, now, I've seen the blue collar, white collar crimes, but some of these women, which blew my mind, some of the crimes that some of them committed were just as heinous as their counterparts committing the crime. Because we have these young ladies, and no disrespect to nothing, that act like guys, and you know, some of the stuff that they're doing, you're scratching your head. Like I remember there was some young ladies that came in, and the way that they took it, every day they was coming through dancing and, you know, singing and stuff like that. I don't believe that they took it serious.
So I don't think that we can say that they didn't take it seriously. You have to understand that people in survival mode. They have to.
I
You
get
have to
that.
shift and put yourself in a place where you have to survive. Some people are there and they are, you know, adapting to what's going on. You adapt. You become a product of your environment.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you know, yes, there are heinous crimes that are happening on all kinds of levels.
These young ladies
right?
brought that with them. That
But it
wasn't
doesn't.
going on with
Okay, but
before they got there. That they was bringing that.
Okay, they bought that with them. So you
Yeah.
got to think about the environment in which they were in before they.
I wouldn't know.
Right, and this is what I'm saying, and this is
Right.
what we're speaking of.
Right.
Understanding, you know, you do the whole PSI, but are you doing the whole cycle, the biopsychosocial on the individual, going back to their trauma in childhood, okay? Because a lot of
Right.
things that have happened to an individual, sexual assault, you know, from someone that they once upon a time loved and you know, looked up to, sexually assaulted by these individuals and had to grow up and begin to be sexually assaulted or raped within the community, right?
I asked that question before.
This is something that, you know, weighs heavy on someone's soul,
Right.
and have to go through life and not being able to address that issue, right? And then being in an environment that don't give a damn about you, and then now you have to adapt or figure out ways to survive, to live in this environment. And more often than not, we got drugs that are planted in our communities, right? We have people who don't care about one another in the community. We talk about the rat race, right? And you know, I
Right.
just heard this on Instagram or one of the social media
social sites?
platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and they were talking about the rat race and how there was a study conducted with rats that they put in an environment that was healthy. You know, food was there,
Right.
and these rats was thriving in that
Oh,
in
yeah.
that area, right? And then they had another section where the rats were placed in a you know, a section where it wasn't so productive. Environment was dirty. You know,
Right.
they didn't clean the cage out. You know, they fed them different foods instead of giving them food that was nourishing to them, right?
Right.
So when they began to put these rats, you know, separate them and bring them into this environment and, you know, cross over
They
to
thrive.
the other environment, some didn't. These
Right.
ones over here who were in that horrible condition,
Right.
they couldn't survive.
Right.
They didn't know how to survive,
Right.
right?
That
But
was
they
all
were
new to them.
It was all, very much.
Right.
So you have to think about, and you know, in
get
comparison,
it.
right, that this is the same thing that is happening to us, and then they call us the rat race because they know that if you have someone in a disvalued community, that you can't expect for them to thrive and to
Right.
do well, but you'll have a prison for them to go into.
But,
It makes
you
no
know-
sense. So I'm feeling like
Right.
like they need to take accountability and stop and begin to put that money into our communities where we can begin to thrive.
Right.
It's that simple.
Yeah, but you know, I mentioned them. You're talking almost 20 years later because it stuck with me. I'm gonna ask, what is that and why? I asked them, what is that? I didn't take it as something that they were masking. I didn't take it as that because of as much as they were doing it. Every time I seen them, I used to tell them, come here. And I asked them, I said, do y'all realize you're in jail, prison? And I would ask them, do you have your high school diploma? No. Go enroll in school. Do you got a job? Get a job. I would hire a lot of people. Get a job. Come work. Come work for me. And most of the people that worked for me they're doing very well out there.
Okay, so you gave
You know,
them something
yes.
to help
So-
recondition,
Right.
For those that didn't partake,
Right.
right?
No,
in
I
it.
didn't mess with them.
Okay, so
Right.
so you have to say there was
Right.
nothing there that they
Right.
found of interest for them to get involved in.
Right.
Right.
That
and
was
it's the
on
same
them.
thing outside. No,
Yes.
we have to stop saying it was on them. And we have to begin
But-
to, and then I'm not saying that we have to
Right.
put everything on the system, but you have to think about about the systematic racism. You have to think about everything that is in the system to keep us down as a people. We talking about repression, right? We talking about oppression.
Right.
That just don't
We
stop.
wasn't talking about that, but we're talking about
But
that.
those,
Yes.
those
I
individuals that
understand
you're
that.
talking about
Right.
are involved in that cycle, okay? And it's not going to stop because
I
no one
can't-
is going. You can't tell someone.
You can't put them all in one category. There's too many variables out there nowadays.
And I'm glad you said
So
that.
you know it's hard. Like you could, I did that for 20 plus years. I worked for the state of Georgia. I seen them, and I worked halfway house up here. So it's hard. If I put them all in there, I'm getting ready to go back to the schools. I can't put all them kids in that category because all of them can't use the same excuse. I can't use the excuse that
But we
you
all
might
don't
have
have
used.
the same excuse.
Exactly.
Right.
So how do you know?
So when
You
you
can't
said,
put 'em all
okay, so
in
you're
that.
about to go into a school system,
Right.
right?
I was there.
And as a man of color, right?
Right.
And the engagement with those that look like you, I'm
Right.
hoping that it will be there, and you can begin to understand and talk to those who may be troubled. Right, and then you will
Yeah.
begin to understand what the difference is.
Yeah, I
right,
did.
because this is then you'll find out.
But you only get to capture, like, say for instance, I got a classroom full of 25. You may get one or two that's paying attention to what you're saying. I was reading something talking about the statistics of them failing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, is that y'all? Half of the kids didn't even hear me. And then you catch one or two that may be willing to listen to you. I
Okay.
come from that. So I was supposed to be a statistic, coming up in projects, so forth and all that. But reaching all of them, I don't use one excuse for everybody. I can't.
Right, you
that,
can't.
that doesn't work.
Right.
But what I try to do is if I get one, I did my job. If I get multiple, I did above and beyond. So what I would do while I was at the prison was see who was listening.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. I got one listening. And I would ask questions because at first it was all women. So when it came down to the men going there, I would ask questions. I would sit at the table and eat with them. So some of the guys would come in and it was like, what's going on? It was like, no, okay, cool. So I would sit and eat with them, just listening, because I can't use the same excuse for everybody. You know what I mean? I get what you're saying, but
it don't start right,
Right.
there. We talking about
Right.
before people enter into prisons,
Right.
right? Before people even get into a place of needing to commit a
Right.
crime, right? We're talking, so it goes far beyond when they get there,
Right.
because the crime has already happened,
Yes.
right? So we need to begin to understand what has happened.
Okay.
Once they
Yeah.
they get arrested, like
Right.
that's social workers and people who are there who saying that they are playing their part in the roles of these individuals, right?
Right.
Playing that role of understanding who this individual is. Why did this happen, right?
Right.
Why did it happen? Why are we here? And it's because there's lack of resources in many underserved communities, right? But you got hyper-local polices in those same communities. Why? If you know that the community has no resources that are going to help the community thrive, what do we do? So we have those people assembly community meetings, hoping that the community can begin to come in and begin to speak about what's out there and what this community needs to begin to move forward, right? It's hard to engage communities that have been told that, or the expectation of them to be better, it's hard to engage them because the same thing when you continue to tell somebody that they ain't nothing, they ain't shit, right? Guess what? They're going to believe that, right?
Yeah.
So when you begin to believe that there's nothing out there and the system is not going to help you, folks are not coming out, right? So it is us that know better. We are supposed to be out in the community. Those who
Right.
call ourselves community leaders, we need to be out in the community collectively, collective liberation, standing on principle.
Right.
About what is right and what looks different. What do we need to bring that community to a place where it's no longer being the hyper local policing is there and jobs are being brought into the community. Our children are beginning to thrive because the food begins to look different, which they're receiving in schools
Right.
and daycares. Like we need to take a look at all of that as parents, community leaders, those who are in power, and to
Right.
say we no longer want these conditions. transformations to happen in our communities,
Right,
right?
right.
So this is what reimagining community is. We know what different look like, and the expectation of that is great. We have standards. We want it to reach the standards of which we are looked at as human beings, not just people who are beneath and low in the caste system. We don't want that any longer for ourselves. And the longer we stay silent, the longer we will stay in that oppressive state,
Right.
that repressive state,
Right.
right? So
No, I get it. I get
that
it.
is what the Free Her campaign is about.
There you go.
You know,
And that was pretty much the message that I wanted you to put out to the people. This show has never been about me. It's about the people, for the people, by the people, about the people. That's why I came in and did it, and that's why I do it to this day, because there's a message to be put out there, and I figure what better platform to do it than social media, TV, television, and so forth. We on it. That's good, and I appreciate you coming through. I'm gonna have you come again, and we're gonna. I'll probably bring a couple of other people back up here with you to talk to you, and maybe ask you some questions, ask you more questions. But I just wanted you to explain what that was, and they can actually get a hold of you here. You're in Waterbury. She's in Waterbury, y'all.
yes, at 50 Stores Avenue in Waterbury. We have the Free Her T-shirts on sale there to help support the Free Her Institute. Come through, come see us. We're in the community. Every month we do the People Assembly community meetings. We ask that you come through. It's most now at the WOW Center in the WOW community. Most of you in Waterbury know where that location
Right.
is. So yes, please come through and support, because it's not about just one person. It's about bringing community together, and we can't do this by ourselves, right? We need volunteers to come in to help put that word out about the any bill that we're looking to pass, which is the primary caretakers bill at this particular time. So yes, we need you to come out and support. And I just want to thank you for allowing me to come today to be on this platform with you.
I got love, and
yeah.
one thing about it, a lot of people don't see me that much, but I support many different things, and if I believe in it, I've been picking y'all brain ever since its inception. So I believe in it. That's why you still see me around, because I believe in what y'all are doing. And you know, a lot of times you see people that speak about the community and they're not doing nothing. It's lip service. But you guys have been working. I even went to visit y'all up in Boston, so stop playing.
So yeah, let me tell you about Boston. So that is where our fearless leader is, Andrea James. She is the powerhouse behind all of this, and I have to give her recognition with all the leaders that we have, the leadership that is under her, and who are all a magnificent force to be reckoned with.
Right.
So yeah,
I know many of them. Many of them know me. So I appreciate it. I love what y'all are doing. And I thank everyone for tuning in to the show, and we're going to have her back because she can roll. Y'all saw she can roll, right? So until next time, peace, blessings, and appreciate it. Mr. Al back there, gotcha.